It's a little hard to explain, but there's something very satisfying about playing a musical instrument, outdoors in the Alabama sunshine. And if you happen to have made that instrument with your own two hands, then I bet it's especially satisfying. That's a feeling that Alabama's Bill Jehle knows pretty well. But I've got to ask, what is that instrument you're holding there, Bill?
Without a doubt, the first time anyone hears one of these things for the first time, they can't believe that they're actually hearing a cigar box that's been made into the guitar.
Now, in another place and another time, these aging wooden boxes probably held Prince Alberts or Swishers or Havana Souls. Most of these boxes were tossed away just as soon as the last drag on the last stogie was blown into the air. And if it weren't for Bill, most of these boxes would have been relegated to a far more mundane life. But Bill has a way of finding art and inspiration in the most unlikely of places.
You know, I'm always on the lookout for things that people have discarded, tiny objects in the parking lot and such, and it's always fun to take something that someone would overlook, like a piece of trash, and be able to think, you know, I could use that to make something on the cigar box guitar.
From his Morgan County garage, under the close inspection of a few curious cats, Bill patiently crafts these old relics into cigar box guitars.
Every single one of the cigar box guitars is different, depending on how complex I want the build to be. Yeah, the cigar box guitars definitely have a sound that's all their own. They sound very primitive, and they definitely don't sound like a guitar that you would buy and take off the wall. They all start off as just a simple piece of wood, and after this has had some shaping and some frets installed, then it'll become something more like this, like the finished product. When people get a chance to play these, they always comment on how comfortable the neck feels. And I attribute that to the fact that I actually sand the profile of the neck using my hand. Cigar box guitars, there are subtly no rules. You don't have to have frets. You don't have to have 6 strings. You know, I don't even have to have a real piece of guitar hardware to use as a bridge. And all of those things combined together make this an extremely liberating project.
If you're like most folks, you probably haven't even heard of these folksy little music makers. Bill runs into that a lot as he travels about.
As a matter of fact, the place to get the biggest reaction out of anyone is to take one of these things through an airport and just carry it. Everyone will give you strange looks, but every once in a while someone will come up to you and say, "What the heck is that thing?" And then I'll play a little bit for them, and then they say, I love it, where can I get one?"
But as it turns out, forsaken tobacco containers have been making people tap their feet for quite some time now.
Well, the history of the cigar box guitar, it really starts back in around 1840, and that was when cigar boxes were first made in the small compact size. And shortly after that, there was an etching done by a Union artist in the Civil War, and that's really the first recorded piece of history that we have of a cigar box guitar. And what I think is so interesting about this, I happen to have a copy of it here, is you can actually read on the side of this cigar box fiddle the brand name of what kind of cigar box he used.
And while it's true that most Americans may be a little bit unfamiliar with this odd little instrument, the cigar box guitar has unwittingly left its fingerprints all over popular music.
Another significant place in the cigar box guitar's history is the people and some of the modern day icons that got their start on the cigar box guitar. Among them, my favorite being Jimi Hendrix. Around 6 years old, he picked up a couple of rubber bands and started strumming out some primitive chords to songs that he was writing in his head.
Now, Bill is more than a builder of these unusual instruments. He's also a pretty solid picker in his own right. Bill was raised in the same way that most of us were, where resources were as tight as the strings on a cigar box guitar. And maybe that's where Bill learned the importance of making the most of what you have at hand.
For example, this old hair comb, these things actually make great nuts and bridges for the guitars. Like this one right here behind me, this piece of plastic up here is a section of a discarded hair comb. I was filling up my car at the gas station and looked down, and I was picking this comb up to throw it away, and I thought, wait a minute, I could use this.
Among quite a few music lovers, it seems that Bill's little guitars are making a big noise. In fact, he gets more requests for cigar box guitars than one man can make. So, to keep up with the demand, he started to teach other would-be luthiers some of the skills that he's developed over time.
People were starting to email me and ask me where could they get these things, and so I started bundling these things together and selling them as a kit with the DVD, and that way you'd have instructions on how to build one, and you'd have the bits and pieces that I use right there in the video to build your own.
But even as interest in these fascinating instruments continue to grow, it'll still be possible to know whether the cigar box guitar you're playing is a Bill Jehle original. That's right, just open it up and have a peek inside.
Now, I like to think of my guitars as not just a guitar, but it really is a piece of artwork. And if I can open this guy up here, I can show you that I sign and number every one of these things. And one thing that really makes them stand out is that I have a red chop here that it was a gift from my wife. She was on a business trip in Hong Kong, and she had my name inscribed in this piece of stone. So that gives it something a little bit extra special. It again makes it something that's uniquely mine.
I would guess that very few of us ever truly get to pour our time and talents into something that gives back. But I think Bill Jehle is well on his way to leaving a musical legacy for himself. And it seems that he's doing it with things that other people threw away.